Perfection is the enemy of progress, and how right Winston Churchill was with this quote. In other words, you could also say perfectionism is just another word for procrastination. Because whilst we endlessly strive for that perfect Instagram post, that perfect podcast episode, that perfect insert any goal or outcome you want to achieve, we waste a hell of a lot of time and energy of actually getting there, potentially deleting a more than good enough product and therefore putting in more resources than we actually need to. This episode marks the first of a series about self-sabotage. So in this series, we dissect different types of self-sabotaging behaviors and discuss how they show up in our lives, in businesses or careers, and most importantly, how we can overcome them. Starting off with perfectionism. It's a word we throw around a lot. I think I hear it almost every single day. And we often wear it like a badge of honor. But what does it really mean to be a perfectionist? At its core, being a perfectionist means setting extremely high standards for yourself, and often impossibly high. You're not just aiming for success, you're aiming for flawlessness. So anything less feels like failure, causing us to feel bad about what we created, even though it probably was a-okay and leading to a negative self-talk spiral that includes harsh self-criticism. It might sound like a good thing, right? Because after all, striving for perfection could push us to achieve great things. But here's the reality. Perfectionism isn't about striving for excellence. It's actually about avoiding failure. It's about the fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough, and it's rooted in the belief that your worth is tied to your achievements, and that if something isn't perfect, you've somehow fallen short as a person. But why do we develop these tendencies? Well, let's talk about the origins a little bit here. This tendency of perfectionism often starts very early in life. Maybe you grew up in an environment where love and praise were tied to your achievements, like, look how good you did on that test, you're amazing, or why can't you get straight A's like your sibling or like your classmate? Like, these kind of messages can be direct or indirect, but they teach us that we are only worthy when we succeed. So we start chasing that perfection, believing that being anything less means we are not good enough. So we make it mean something about us. And it's also common in environments with high expectations. Maybe you had parents, teachers, or even peers who set the bar really, really high for you. Or perhaps you've always felt the need to stand out and prove yourself, whether at school, in your career, or even in personal relationships. Over time, this becomes deeply internalized, and before you know it, you are your own harshest critic, always pushing yourself to be perfect in every single way. And this can be exhausting, right? The pressure to keep up, to be flawless all the time, it literally just robs you of your happiness. You might achieve great things, but you rarely enjoy them because there's always something that could have been better, something that wasn't quite good enough, always something to improve. And this can also haunt us in the entrepreneurial space or even career space, and of course influence how we perform or even how we see ourselves in a corporate job or in the business world. Do we fit in or do we not fit in? So the perfectionist mindset can be incredibly paralyzing. Maybe you've had, for example, an idea for a new offer to serve your clients, right? You're excited and you're passionate and you dive in head first. But then the perfectionist in you takes over and you start tweaking every little detail, redoing the content, editing the videos multiple times, adding more worksheets, comparing your work to what others are doing. And you get caught in this never-ending cycle of creating and refining and refining. The result, you might never launch. That amazing idea stays stuck and in draft mode in your head or on the computer because it's not perfect enough. And you're so afraid of criticism or of it not being flawless that you'd rather not put it out to others for them to enjoy and learn from at all. And this is where perfectionism really sabotages us. It keeps us playing small. We don't take risks, we don't put ourselves out there, and ultimately we hold ourselves back from achieving our full potential. Similar, again, different example in a corporate job. I had a client once who would rather start a whole project again from scratch if she felt it wasn't perfect and therefore struggled with deadlines, causing her to feel more stressed. So how do we work through all of this? How do we stop perfectionism from sabotaging our success. Here are a few strategies that I found incredibly helpful. First up, embrace the concept of good enough and get comfortable with imperfection. I know this can be tough, but aiming for good enough instead of perfect can literally be a game changer. This doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. It means recognizing when something is of high quality and doesn't need any more tweaking. So challenge yourself to put out work that is not 100% perfect. If you find yourself constantly editing, ask yourself, is this really making it better, or am I just delaying? Start with small things again. Maybe it's a blog post that you wouldn't normally publish because it's just not right, and see how it feels. And you'll be surprised actually how much you grow from just putting yourself out there and going with the kind of like 80-20 rule. Secondly, set realistic goals and deadlines. Give yourself a specific time frame to complete a project and stick to it. When you have a deadline, you're less likely normally to get stuck in the cycle of perfectionism. And remember, deadlines aren't just getting things done. They are about knowing when to stop. Thirdly, practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. You're not your work, and your worth is not determined by what you achieve. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be human. So do talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend, your best friend who's struggling maybe, and really offer encouragement and understanding instead of harsh criticism. And last but not least, focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Every step forward is a win, and you don't have to have everything figured out to take action. Progress is about movement, not perfection. If you're moving, you're succeeding. So to all my fellow recovering perfectionists out there, remember this: perfection is not the path to success. It's a barrier, it's a shield we kind of use to protect ourselves from judgment, but in reality, it keeps us stuck and prevents us from achieving the things we truly are capable of. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy and to be successful or to be loved. You just have to be yourself, which is perfectly imperfect. That's all I have for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me for today. If you found this episode helpful and if you liked it, please like it on YouTube or leave a rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast. It's a couple of taps for you that mean the world to me, and it will help to get this podcast out to many, many more people. And with that, I shall see you again soon with a new episode. Bye.